Today, I'm going to explain to you why I think communication apps that schools use with families might actually be harming the relationships that schools, teachers and parents have with each other. And even worse, they could even be holding back the development of our students. This might seem at odds with how our current world works. If the majority of schools are using these apps, then it must surely be best practice. Hi, I'm Brett, a parent with 2 kids and a teacher for 2 decades. And I'm going to try and give you a different perspective by explaining what I thought I was doing when I started using one of these apps, and what's happened since then. And to finish up, some tips on what we can all do to try and solve some of these problems. And full disclosure, I'm still currently using one of these apps in my professional career. For me, this all starts in the mid-2010s. I was starting to become an experienced teacher who was always looking to improve my practices and become more efficient with how I move student learning forward. It was also a time when technology and apps to make life easier were booming, and it felt like all tech was good tech. So when I was alerted to an app that was used for communication with families and appeared safe and well built, I jumped in. And a colleague and I were the first 2 teachers in the school to get all of the families connected. It felt like we'd just found a hack for our day-to-day work lives. Within a couple of years, other teachers decided to follow our lead until eventually the entire school was using it, including leadership and the admin. Now at the time, it felt really good to lead by example in moving the school forward. And originally, here's what I thought implementing the use of this app was doing for us. It was making communication between teachers and parents seamless and instant. Parents could let me know important information about how their child was going, and in turn, I could alert them to anything that might have happened at school on any given day. It was solving problems with students losing notes for excursions and important information. It didn't matter if students forgot their diaries, and we could even get rid of them altogether. And through its function of being able to upload videos and photos, families were able to see the best parts of their students' learning, sometimes even moments after it happened. Sounds good, doesn't it? And most people still probably feel that's what these apps offer today, because technically, they do. In reality, the apps are just programs and tools with options that can be used or not. However, I believe these apps are having an adverse effect. So, over the last 3 to 4 years of using one of these apps, something had started to feel a bit off for me. There didn't seem anything particularly wrong, but I felt myself pushing back against using it. And until recently, I didn't understand why I had this gut feeling. A few different books and research papers have appeared, almost right when I needed them to make me rethink what these apps might be doing. So, here's my list of 4 reasons why I think school communications apps are not as great as they might have seemed. Number 1, allowing instant messaging between parents and teachers meant that when we were frustrated, angry, or wanted something clarified, we could ask for an answer at any time of the day, 24/7, sometimes with the ability to know if the other person has seen the message or not. It is unfortunately common for teachers and parents to send a message about sometimes trivial issues that may have seemed important, but given a bit of time to sit, probably didn't need to be addressed. Number 2, parents now have the option to avoid meeting teachers or talking to them over the phone in real life to discuss their students' learning. It's sadly not uncommon for me to have some students in my class for 2 years in a row see them graduate, never having met their parents. In the before times, parents would have to ring the admin to book a meeting or organise a phone conversation. Parents would even drop by before or after school more frequently to clarify or talk about their child. As much as these things also had drawbacks, there is something to be said for having an in-person relationship and connection. I remember feeling a sense of belonging as a small child whenever my mum visited school and had positive interactions with my teacher. It felt more like they were a team cheering me on together. Number 3, all responsibilities that students had to get notes home, share crucial information, get a permission slip signed and brought back on time, and remember what homework they were supposed to do, has in some cases been completely taken away from them. As much as giving kids these responsibilities is fraught with danger, with notes getting dropped, homework forgotten, telling mum and dad that you need a costume tomorrow, even though you knew about it weeks ago, in trying to eliminate a potential problem by alerting parents directly, we've taken away a student's chance to feel grown up, have to explain what's happening at school, forget or lose a note and have to learn how to deal with this, and more importantly, learn from the successes and failures that come with being the go-between for communication with the school and families. I remember being excited myself when an excursion was explained by the teacher and we got the note, and then getting home to explain how awesome this event at school was going to be to my parents. And then the anticipation and worry as teachers kept asking for notes and payments to come back to school before the due date. A parent receiving an alert on their phone with a link to an online form and payment seems a little detached, even if it is way more convenient. Number 4. And finally, the thing that most people might think is the greatest use of these apps, but which I think might be the greatest travesty. Posting students' learning and grades in what feels like a Facebook reel of their life at school. To help understand why I think this is an issue, I want you to imagine yourself in this scenario. You've just been to a new restaurant, watched a brand new indie film that has blown your mind, or listened to an obscure piece of music that has made you feel so deeply that you can't stop listening to it. Now imagine you're about to catch up with your friends. You can't wait to tell them about this wonderful thing that you've discovered, recommend it, and excitedly explain all the ways in which it changed you. But then, just after you start to talk about it, one of your friends interrupts you, says how they've already come across this thing you were excited about, and deflates the wonder and excitement you had for telling your version. You probably then, in tandem, tell the rest of the group about this thing, constantly interrupting each other in a disjointed storytelling, while all the time feeling disappointed and hollow because you really wanted to tell your version. Now, I might be stretching here, but I have a feeling I'm not. Is it possible that every time our child's work is posted to us and we're alerted, then as soon as they get in the car or get home and we excitedly tell them, "I saw your art, maths, science project," are we not taking away the opportunity for them to tell us or not tell us about the experience? And then there are other programs that share a constantly updated flow of grades and assignment results, often used by high schools. Think back to when you were in school. How did it feel to attend school, away from parents and them not knowing much about what goes on in the 6 or so hours that you're there? Now imagine that every assignment that you did had the grade or result sent to your parents immediately. I know there were many times when I had to personally think about whether I told my parents about how I was going. This made me weigh up the pros and cons of telling them, what excuses I would have for a poor result, and when the right time to tell mum and dad was. I see all of these experiences as important learning about how to deal with setbacks, how to have hard conversations, and even how to formulate a plan to soften a blow when a situation seems grave. These are all skills that I hear adults constantly complain that kids don't have anymore. So, if you agree with, or at least can understand what I'm getting at with my concerns, I believe that there are things we can do, whether that's from parents' perspective, teacher perspective, or school-wide perspective. It would be easy for me to make a sweeping statement and say, delete and cease using these apps. The problem with that is they are so ingrained within some school communities, so the solution is to minimise use, scale back its importance, and think carefully about the purpose and outcomes we want from using these apps. And we should also reflect on what we might have already lost or continue to lose through their use. For parents, my advice would be to minimise communication over the app. Try not to send messages to teachers when you're upset or in a high emotional state about something that's happened with your child. If you need to know something about what's going on at school, ask yourself, can my child go and find this out for me? Try and visit the school and teachers to have positive interactions in front of your child, and let your child share their learning, excitement and achievements with you, not the other way around. For teachers and schools, it is important to constantly be reflecting about the positives and negatives of these communication apps and making decisions about what is purposeful, what is important, and what is helping students gain the skills they need to grow. Because many of these apps are now the prominent way that school communities interact with each other. Before I wrap up, I just want to reiterate that I don't have anything against the communication apps that schools are using. They are just tools that are made available. It's up to schools and their communities to decide if they are used, what they're used for, and how they are implemented. Thank you for watching, and if you're interested, here's this other video I made about how to better communicate with your school.